Hello, everybody, and welcome to Flutespresso, episode 4 here with Dionne Jackson.
Good
We
morning,
wel
Heather.
Good morning to you. We welcome all of you out there on Facebook or however you are watching today. And for our 4th episode of Flutespresso, we want to invite you to interact with us in the comments today. So, the goal of Flutespresso is to be a nice coffee break for us all. If coffee is not your thing, grab some tea, or maybe you're inspired by our last episode to grab a nice big glass of water, and that is fine too. But come take a break with us and have a casual chat about flute, about life, about whatever's on our minds today. So send us some comments here in the chat. I'm going to be watching. Tell us where you're watching from. Tell us what you're drinking. I'm going to ask Dionne in just a second what she's drinking. And anyone who, tell us what you'd like to hear about today. If you have any questions for us or topics that you're curious about. And anyone who comments during the session live, we're going to pick one lucky person to receive Dionne's CD, which she generously has donated. One of our Flute Specialist mugs,
Love it.
and a Sankyo cleaning cloth because Dionne is a Sankyo artist. So a couple quick things about Dionne. I bet many of you know Dionne, and I'm so privileged to have met Dionne a few years ago, and she made an everlasting mark on my heart, I know, in a positive way, of course. Dionne has been the assistant principal flute with the Chicago Lyric Opera Orchestra since 2001. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. And she has performed with the Chicago Symphony, the Boston Symphony Orchestra. You went to Juilliard. And while she was at Juilliard, she was able to play with the New York Philharmonic on both flute and piccolo. And then she's well known for studying at the Paris Conservatory, where she was the first American to win first prize in flute in over a decade. Did I get all of that correct?
You did. It's perfect.
Thank you. And there's so much more about you. So I say good morning and welcome. And what are
Welcome,
you
Heather.
drinking?
I am drinking, at the beginning of quarantine, I realized how important my caffeine was to my overall sanity at home. So I bought myself an espresso machine and I actually make espresso and I can froth the almond milk. I take it with almond milk and it just starts my day off on a really good note, which I need these days. So, yeah.
Wow. You made your own espresso, your own frothed almond milk today.
Yes.
Do you also grind your own beans?
I should, but I don't, only because I have so little time. In the morning, I have 4 kids to get ready, and so the chaos starts pretty much right away. So I use peat, like the Major Dickinson blend. I love that. So yeah.
I literally just finished that blend of coffee.
Oh, really?
That is a really fun coincidence.
Well, it's funny. I discovered it when I was in Boston, living out east for a little bit, because it was right on the way from where I was staying to where the Boston Symphony rehearses. So we don't have that around here in Chicago as much, but that's where I sort of fell in love with it and became a part of my daily routine.
Yes. Yeah. I'm in Iowa right now. You're in Chicago area now.
Yes.
Iowa. And we don't have pizza here either. I was on vacation and picked up a bag.
Oh, wow. Awesome. Yeah.
All right. So moving away from coffee, let's talk about Chicago.
Okay.
You live in Chicago. I actually used to live in Chicago too. I don't know if you know that about me.
I did not know that.
So I could talk Chicago to you all day. We might lose some people though. I see Jeff Bias saying hello. I know he's in the Detroit area. Liz from Flute Authority. She's actually just 2 miles that way. Hi, Liz.
Oh, wow. I love Liz. Liz is the best.
Tell me, what are your favorite things about Chicago? Are you originally from Chicago? I don't know.
I am. I grew up about 2 miles from where I live right now. So what's fun about it is all my high school friends who knew me way before I ever, played the flute. So many of us are still in this area. So it's really great to have them nearby, and so many contacts I had from high school. My family is all from Chicago. So we're from the western suburbs. So I actually live in Glen Ellen. And I grew up in Glen Ellen. So it was really kind of exciting after I started auditioning for jobs to win a job in my hometown I mean, I don't think that happens to many of us. So, you know, I was incredibly lucky that way. And I do love the city of Chicago. It's just a beautiful city. It's got a great downtown, and where we live is perfect. It's short. I can take the train into work, and I just have to walk a block to get to the Opera House. So it's very convenient for a good lifestyle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think my favorite thing about Chicago is Millennium Park.
Oh yeah, it's gorgeous. And we open usually every season of the opera at a free concert we do for the city of Chicago, and it's in Millennium Park, and it's just a great way to open the season, and it's so beautiful, and you can see the whole skyline of Chicago, and the city loves it, and it's always packed, and it's a great way to kick off the season. So yeah.
And I think my least favorite thing about Chicago was the traffic. I'm sorry to say it.
Oh yeah, especially I leave for work from the western suburbs at 5 o'clock. So right during rush hour to get to a performances, you know, all our performances start at 7 or 7:30. So I am in the heat of it every day. Sometimes it can take me 45 minutes to get downtown in no traffic, or 2 hours and 15 minutes. So you know, you always have to leave plenty of time, and it's quite a commute. But I try to take the train as much as I can, because it's just much easier, and I can read, or I can catch up on things. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, I don't know. So what do you love most about the Chicago music scene? This was a question from someone else, so I'll say it wasn't my question. Someone else asked.
Yeah, there's a lot of great things about the music scene in Chicago. For example, after I graduated from Juilliard, I played in the Civic Orchestra, which is the training orchestra for the Chicago Symphony. And you get to rehearse in Symphony Hall, and you get lessons from, you know, the musicians of the Chicago Symphony. And we were conducted by Daniel Barenboim and Pierre Boulez. And that was just a wonderful opportunity to get kind of connected with the music scene in Chicago. And they have a series called Music Now. So I played on that quite often, which is a lot of contemporary music. And it was after that I auditioned, you know, for the sublist of the Chicago Symphony, and then started getting to play with them on a regular basis. And it's just an amazing community. And there's a lot of jazz music scene, which I love jazz too. And there's really everything for everyone, from classical, contemporary. There's music of the Baroque. There's, like I said, a lot of contemporary music series, and a lot of chamber music too. So it's a great place to be.
I saw a video that was on the news of the Lyric Opera Orchestra playing Flight of the Valkyrie, and I kept waiting. You know, when you know people, you're waiting for the box, and you were playing piccolo. So it took me a while to find you. I was surprised to see you playing piccolo. Yeah,
well, for the ring cycle, there's usually, you know, four flutes or 5 in many instances. So in those cases, I like to play the third flute part and the second piccolo part. So my job is a little unique in that I'm assistant principal flute, but I also play second flute and piccolo. So I get to play all the positions, which I really enjoy. And I love playing the piccolo. So usually the sub will play second flute, and I'll play third piccolo on the ring cycle. So it's fun.
So you played the ring cycle many times then?
Not many times. This would have been my second time in my career. We did it about, I want to say 10 years ago for the first time, I think. And I was pregnant at the time with my third baby. And I think I was like 8 months pregnant when we did this. And I remember it was so long, and there were bets in the lounge about whether or not this baby was going to come before it ended the ring cycle. And it was just quite an experience, but, yeah, we made it through, and it all ended well.
Thank goodness.
It was very disappointing this year that unfortunately they had to cancel the ring cycle, because we had been preparing for it one opera a year for the past, I think, 4 seasons. So, you know, it was really a lot of years building up to it, and then to have it canceled suddenly, it was, you know, everyone was super disappointed. So we were thankful for the opportunity to make that video and still be able to share a little bit of the excitement of the ring with the public. And yeah,
I was going to say, some people might not have known that you were scheduled to play it, and it was canceled, of course, as most things were. And like, my question about that was, of course, I mean, we're all disappointed. Was there a little piece of you that was like, okay, I don't have to play this very long, grueling performance?
Not, to be honest, not really, because it's such beautiful music, and the singers we had scheduled were so amazing, and I was really looking forward to having the whole thing put together and hearing the whole thing. So I think sure, part of you is relieved that you don't have to, it's physical, it's long, it's grueling, but at the same time, the end result is just, it's not done very often. And so to do that even 2 times in your career is an honor to get to play it. So it was a mixture of both feelings, I think, under the circumstances.
Is there plans to try again in a year or two?
That we're not sure. We kind of doubt it. I think it's just such a huge undertaking to schedule the singers that far ahead and to prepare the whole thing. We haven't heard any news about that, so I'm not sure. I hope so.
Well, I will keep my eyes posted.
Yeah, thanks.
I see 2 comments saying hello from France. Which
Oh, Marie! Marie from France was oh my gosh, she's a wonderful girl. She's studying medicine at the University of Lille, and she stayed with us for a few weeks as an international exchange student. So my son got to go stay with her family for a couple of weeks and go to school in Lille, and she came here and went to school with my son, and she's amazing. Yeah.
I was using that to transition over to, what was it like? I've not been to Paris personally. What was it like being in Paris, studying in Paris, living in Paris?
I cannot even describe what a wonderful experience it was and how it changed my life, how it changed my overall perspective of life and culture and what your priorities, what kind of priorities actually bring happiness in life. And it's, I'm not going to lie, the first few weeks I was there, I was on a Fulbright Grant, and I'd never really lived, I'd never been out of the country. So the first few weeks were really an adjustment. I felt really alone and I didn't speak the language fluently. And I thought, well, I don't know if I should stay here. I think maybe I should just go home. It's hard. all my classes were in French at the conservatory. There weren't really any other Americans there. So that was hard to have, music analyse in French and solfege. And these kids in France could just they were incredible. They've been doing solfege since they were toddlers. And that was so hard to catch up. So there were a lot of challenges. But once I settled in and I started to just accept, I had to learn the language quickly or I wasn't going to graduate. And I studied as hard as I could with the flute. And obviously having lessons with Alain Marion was absolutely worth any challenge that came my way, because he was such a passionate teacher and he loved his students so much. And we all had class as a group. So our lessons were 8 hours a day. Now, there were no private lessons. So we all would stand in a circle and he would just pick, and you never knew when you were going to go. So you were sort of anxious because you just never knew when your turn was going to be. And it was kind of a heightened experience. And it was always a performance, so every lesson was a performance. So you really learned how to be tough under pressure and listening to the other kids in the class. We were from all over the world. I think there were maybe 5 French kids and the rest of us from Belgium, from Switzerland, from Israel, from Spain, from Italy. So it was a very international class, and we all just really enjoyed each other and had a great time together. And we also had 4 hours of technique class every Saturday morning with Raymond Guillot, who was his assistant. And he was tough. I mean, he studied under the great French flutist Taffanel and Gobert, and he just came up from that whole French system. So he took it very, very seriously. And those classes for me at the beginning were terrifying because he would just make up these technical exercises on the spot and you had to do it in front of the class. And it moved very quickly. And he was always changing the patterns because he believed if you always practice the same scales every single day, you're not really learning. You're just kind of going on autopilot. So he believed to practice the technical exercises, but make sure you change keys, make sure you change patterns, do octaves, do different articulations to always keep your mind in the game. So that really taught me how to concentrate under a great deal of pressure, which came in really handy when I would be playing long operas when I had, 2 little kids at home, under 2. And it really brought your sight reading skills up to a really good level. So that has definitely served me probably better than any other skills I learned. So I was thankful for him and those technique classes and the pressure that he put on us, even though at the time it was very scary.
I know a lot of people are heading away to college, and we were kind of talking about this before we went live here. And I'm thinking about how you said your first week or 2, you were not sure you wanted to be there. And I think that's kind of a nice lesson for us all. Sometimes it takes a little while to adjust and
absolutely
And by the end, were you fluent in French by the end then?
By the end of 2 years, yes. I would say it took the first 6 months before I could go to class and not have a migraine headache because I was focusing so hard on trying to catch 1 or 2 words that it was just very draining emotionally. But then after 6 months, I could understand everything fluently and I could speak enough where my friends and I used to get teased all the time by the kids in the class because my French was sort of broken at the beginning. But then at the end of the 2 years, I was completely fluent and I love the language. I love speaking the language. One of my best friends at Lyric Opera is French, and he's always speaking to me in French to make sure I don't forget, and I want to keep it up. So that's fun.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah.
So outside of the music, what do you miss most from Paris?
Oh gosh, everything. I miss my friend. I still am in touch, believe it or not. It's been, I don't know, 15, 20 years, something since I went back last year finally, after a really long time of not being able to go back. And I miss they took so much time to friendships mean so much there. I mean, they don't really invite you to have dinner unless they actually really mean it. And they take friendships so seriously. And I became really good friends with the pianist that we played chamber music together. And I remember one time arriving in Orly Airport in the middle of the night, and there she was waiting for me to help me with my suitcase. That's just how it takes a while to make friends. But when you do, the friendship is very deep. And so I miss that a lot just because I miss the people that I was so close to. But my pianist called me with her parents actually last weekend. They FaceTimed me from Marseille. Her parents own 2 restaurants in Marseille, and they still called to say hello, and they kind of adopted me into their family. And I used to go stay, Thanksgiving and Christmas with them. So I'm still in touch with all of them, and it's wonderful.
Yeah. I'm seeing all these wonderful comments. Joshua, Dionne is the best.
Oh, I see Arena, my student, my former student. Yep. Yeah. So, and that's one thing about music that I feel in these times, it's really important to remember just that the friendships and the connections we make with people through music. Like I met you were so wonderful. I was so nervous to play that recital because I'd been up, I don't know, till I had an opera the night before. I think it was one of the Ring Cycle operas. And then I had to fly to Detroit, I think at 6 a.m. and then play that recital. And I was completely exhausted. I didn't know how I was going to get through it. And you were so nice and so generous. And it was so well planned, the whole event. I had so much fun. So I feel like, especially in these times where we feel like we're sort of isolated, because we're not allowed to perform in large groups, it's so important to remember that music, for us has been the thing that connects us with people and keeps us going and keeps us motivated to do something beautiful and give back to the world. So I think, I'm thankful to be a musician, even though times right now are very difficult and we're not able to perform the way we would like. There's still so many other ways you can connect to music. Like we're doing this interview. Last week, I did with Liz and Sankyo Flutes, we did a presentation for Jenny Brown's wonderful class that she does, Credo, which is a master class in the Chicago area. And that was super fun. And so there are other ways we can be creative to still inspire each other and try to connect.
And a reminder to type into the chat here. Tell us where you're watching from. Tell us what you're drinking. I have plain, boring black coffee. It's not nearly as exciting as yours, but it's the trick for me. These are Tim Hortons beans. So any Canadian fans out there, salute to you. And anyone who comments in the chat here, we're going to choose one person to receive Dionne's CD. And I wanted to ask Dionne about her CD because that leads next from your studies in Paris. Tell us about your CD.
Yeah, that was a project I'd been wishing to do for such a long time. I'd always hoped to make a CD, just a French repertoire, because that's what so much of my studies were focused on. I mean, I think in order to graduate, we had to have played through the entire, French flute book and all of the French pieces, and then of course the French concertos. And so I always had hoped I'd have the opportunity to make a CD, but it always kept getting pushed to the wayside for different reasons. I was working at the opera, which is so intense during the season, and I have a family. And so it just never quite got going until finally I received a grant when I was on a sabbatical from Lyric and teaching at University of Connecticut. And I was able to finally put together and have the time to make the CD. And it was just a wonderful project. And the pianist, Maria Stroke, she's lived and grew up in France and speaks French also, and she's passionate about the French repertoire. So we were really excited to work together. And our rehearsals were just so inspiring. And I mean, it was a big project to put together. I'm not gonna lie. It took a lot of time and a lot of takes, and getting it all organized. I think it was about 2 years from start to finish. So I'm so happy it's out there. And I've been thinking during the quarantine, now that I have so much time, I'd love to do another CD. So I'm kind of thinking about repertoire I might want to record if I can ever do that again. So it's very exciting.
The CD is fantastic. I have been
Thank
listening
you.
to it. It's
Oh,
absolutely
wow.
fantastic.
Thank
And
you so much.
I recommend to anyone, leave a comment and definitely try to win the CD. And if not, buy the CD. It is fantastic. I really have enjoyed it.
Oh, I really appreciate that. Yeah, we really put our heart and souls into that project and did the best we could. And it was just a wonderful experience. So I'm glad that anyone who's interested and gets some joy out of listening to it, that's all I need from the project. That's it. That's what it was all about. So
in 2-3 years, I will look for your next CD.
I hope so. That would be wonderful. Yeah.
A question that was turned in from someone else again. What do you find the biggest difference to be between opera and orchestral playing?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, there is a lot of difference in terms of just the way you have to concentrate, because the operas are so long. You know, most of our evenings they're at least 3 hours, sometimes 4 hours, sometimes 5 hours. So it's just the endurance to keep your concentration for such a long time. Whereas like with the orchestral repertoire, which I love, also it's generally sometimes for the flute parts anyway, they can be a lot more technical and a lot more difficult, but they, you know, take place in a shorter amount of time. So it's just a very different mindset. And I love them both, to be honest. So I feel fortunate that I've gotten to play and sub enough in orchestras that I've gotten to play a lot of the orchestral repertoire. But yeah, it's definitely very endurance based for the opera.
Do you have a certain opera that you could just listen to every day, or maybe one that's your favorite to play?
I love La Boheme. I mean, we've played it a gazillion times, you know, and maybe probably 8 or 9 times in my career, and I just never get sick of it. It's so beautiful. And I love the Mozart operas. Magic Flute is just absolutely gorgeous. We did it last year. We've done it many times. I just never get sick of it. I think the music is so wonderful. Yeah, and I also, obviously, we've done Carmen. That's really fun to play. The flute parts are wonderful. Yeah.
Do you have any playing that you're doing right now, outdoors or?
To be honest, I haven't been doing much playing since they pretty much shut us down at the opera in the middle of March. And for the first time in my life, I've been faced with, I don't have 10 or 12, you know, operas or pieces on my stand that I have to learn. I'm not under pressure to learn anything. And that has been a really interesting experience for me in terms of I'm finally getting to just take out pieces that I love and I can play them for fun. And I don't have a deadline and I don't have a recording date. And it's been a really interesting experience to play in that way, just for joy, like just for enjoyment. And it brings me back to like why I'm doing this in the first place. You know, it reminds me why I went into music, and I can choose whatever pieces I want to play. That's a new experience for me after, you know, 20 years of always being under so much pressure. So that's been really fun. I've been practicing the CPE Bach G major concerto because I love that piece, and it's just keeping me in shape, and it's been really fun.
Do you have a favorite piece you've been playing just for fun? And you don't have to tell me, you can just pass, but is there something?
No, just like I just said, the CPE Bach concerto in G major. It's one of my favorite pieces because it was the first piece I heard Alain Marion play when I went to Paris and heard one of his recitals in a small church in France. And I just got so blown away by his articulation and how beautiful the second movement was and his sound. It was so colorful and just so rich. And I remember sitting there just thinking, oh gosh, I hope I can sound like that someday. You know, like that was just what I was thinking when I first got there. And I was like, I'm so lucky I get to be his student, and he's going to be my teacher. And I can't wait to learn so much from him. And I did. So
now I want to go play that piece as well. Thank you.
Yeah, I really recommend it.
Are you teaching right now?
I'm doing a little bit of teaching, not as much as I was, but I have some college students who used to study with me in high school that are home for the summer, and I've been giving them some lessons. Obviously, we're some of the lessons I do have been on Zoom, but I love doing that. But one of my students really wanted to see me. And so she's been coming over, and, we talk about the fact that she's not traveling, she's not going anywhere. And I've been quarantined, so we feel safe, and I wear a mask and stay 6 feet away from her. But it's been fun actually to still have, in live person lessons. And we're as safe about it as we can be. So yeah, a little bit of teaching.
Mm-hmm.
Here and there.
This is a random story for me, but I just started teaching a couple lessons outside.
Oh, how is that going?
Well, I think you had the same storm come through that we did here in Iowa. So I had one wonderful lesson this week outside, and then one lesson where they came to pick up all of the branches in the neighborhood while I was teaching.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
It was awful.
So what did you do? Did you reschedule, or?
We waited. I had scheduled extra time.
Okay.
And good. We waited and we chatted, which is lovely to chat with someone in person, is not
right.
something we do all the time. So
very much so. Wow. We had a huge tree fall down in our front yard, and we lost power for, I think it was 3 days. And so all week, it's all been the tree guys coming up and down the street, and those noises all day long. It's just like, but luckily they cleaned it up. But it almost hit the house. So we were very lucky that it just landed in the front yard.
Oh, I'm glad you're safe.
That was a bad storm, wasn't it?
We still have one large branch dangling over the house. And so after what happened earlier this week, I thought they're going to come bring that down while I'm talking to Dionne today.
Of course.
But they have not. So
we're good. Let's keep our hopes up. That's funny.
So while we're on the lighter side of things, during the quarantine time, I think we're taking some breaks and connecting to things. I feel like as a mom, everybody's picking up hobbies and new activities, and that's not in my wheelhouse. But how about you? Any things?
My kids and I have been having fun just doing a lot of house projects together. Like, we painted our bathroom. We put up some wallpaper. My son, who's an engineer, figured out how to measure everything. So it's been really fun to have these little projects together. He painted his room. So we've kind of just been focusing on things inside the house because we can't really, go anywhere. But it's also been really busy because the two of my younger boys started e-learning on Monday. So that's just a full-time job for me, because one's in high school, one's in 5th grade, and there's just so many different teachers and assignments. And then my older two are getting ready to go off to college to Boston in a few weeks. And there's been a lot of anxiety around that for them. So trying to calm their fears, every day, are we going? Are we not going? We have to go get this to pack. We don't know if we're actually going to get there. So it's definitely been a difficult time. So the little bit of time that I get to come in my office and practice for an hour or two is kind of my getaway from it all. So
the very first thing you said was you've been having fun doing projects around the house. And all I can think is you and I have very different ideas of fun.
We've moved a lot, and I like buying the most dilapidated house on the block and then fixing it up. It's just, and luckily with the opera schedule, we have a few months off in the summer. So I've just always done that. When my kids were little, I loved to paint their rooms and decorate their rooms, and then, remodel things as we could. And I get very excited about picking out things for their house, like light fixtures and bathroom fixtures. And I don't know, it's kind of always been an extra passion of mine, is home decorating. So getting the kids on board has been fun to have help with it.
When we're done with this, I'm going to give you my address and we'll get to
Absolutely.
How about any fun TV movie things that you've been binging?
We haven't been watching so many movies, although my little one, he loves his cartoons on Nickelodeon, so we do watch a lot of that. And on Friday nights we have pizza movie night, so we order pizza and we take turns who gets to pick the movie, and we do that. So that's been nice. My son's been outside rollerblading like crazy with the neighbor boys, because luckily they're the same age. So that's kept him, pretty busy, and that's good. And a lot of cooking, just a lot of meals together, and just trying to keep everything going in the house. That's also another full-time job. So it's definitely been busy. in spite of the fact you'd think we'd have nothing to do and be looking for things to do, somehow the days just seem to fly by. So
I don't think that, but I understand.
well, my kids are older than yours, so I think about that a lot. I don't know how I would have managed when they were toddlers, like what you have. That's rough. What are you guys doing for fun?
You said rollerblading, and we were rollerblading yesterday. So another thing that we have in common there. My oldest son plays hockey, so rollerblading
Yeah,
is close.
exactly. Good.
Do you have any upcoming projects that you want to plug right now? Anything you want to tell us about? And if not, we'll skip past. That's okay.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm like I said, I've just sort of stepped back from anything with much pressure. I had a really busy last couple of years, and I had some crazy things with health. My health. I flew to Germany, and I got some blood clots in my lungs, and that was a huge ordeal to come back from. So the practicing, it's really important that I keep practicing so I keep my lung capacity up and keep my levels as was. I almost had to practice twice as much last year to keep everything going. So it's been a little bit of a tough year that way and struggle. So I'm really enjoying just actually getting back to the basics of music and practicing music I love, not having the pressure of too many performances on the horizon right now, thinking about my CD and starting to practice pieces I might want to record, and just, taking care of my family and getting us kind of through this crisis time. Hopefully my kids will get off to college and we'll figure out e-learning, and then I can think more about some future music projects. I know Liz and I would love to do some more virtual master classes on Sankyo flutes. I'd love to do some classes about the French flute techniques that I learned in Raymond Guillot's technique class. And so we have been talking about some things we might do that way in the future. So
you, and also Joshua in the comments, you have done my transition for me, because my very last thing I have written before our special round here was you're a Sankyo artist. And I wanted to say, tell us about your flute. And Joshua says, I'm squinting because I have a light right here, what it felt like to switch from the 5K goal Sankyo to the 14K, and the differences. He's a very good Sankyo.
Joshua, I love Joshua. He is the best. Some of you know my students and some of my friends that are on here. I can see, Jan, hi. They know kind of, I've had a very long, hard struggle with changing metals on flutes. I won my job at Lyric playing on the 18-karat gold Sankyo that Alain Marion helped me pick out in Paris. And then when I won my job at Lyric, my colleague was playing on a solid platinum flute. And before I had tenure, she, pressured me a little bit to switch metals. And obviously I wanted to blend with her the best that I could. And I did. I switched to platinum, and I played platinum for, about 6 or 7 years. And it's great for projecting from the pit. It's awesome. But for me, the articulation was a little bit heavier for me. It just was a different sound than I was used to. I really struggled with that flute. And at some of the auditions I took, I just didn't feel super comfortable. So it wasn't the right metal for me. So it's been a long road trying to switch back from getting used to platinum back to playing gold, which is where I'm much more comfortable. So the 5K was an awesome transition because it's really a perfect blend between like the projection of silver, but it also has a little bit more warmth of the gold. So I recorded my CD on the 5K, and I love the 5K. But then I was lucky enough to, a few years ago, try a 14-karat gold Sankyo that I fell in love with. And I was fortunate enough to have a lot of support from family and really dear friends, and I was able to get that flute. And so the transition to the 14K, it's heavier. And so for playing an opera, again, when I was trying to recover from my lung issue, it was heavy, and it was a little bit tough. So I would switch back and forth a lot between the 5K and the 14K, depending on how I was feeling that day and what we were playing in our opera performances. I played both really for the last year. And then once, I was fully recovered, and I went back to the 14K, and then Liz came to visit, and she brought a bunch of head joints with her, and she had this 18-karat gold head joint that I just fell in love with, and I had to get it. And so it gave me back like the really darker, warm sound of 18 karat gold. So now I have the 14 karat gold flute with the 18 karat gold head joint. And then just to complicate things a little more, Liz sent me a platinum cork that she inserted in the crown.
Oh, mm-hmm.
Now that I just received, I don't know, a few months ago, and I love it because it just gives me that little bit of extra, you know, pizzazz and beauty that platinum brings, but without the difficulties I was having in terms of ease of articulation and air support and things like that. So, so now I have the perfect flute with the perfect combination for me, and I don't think I'll ever change. So that's a relief because it's been a long journey to figure it out.
At Flute Specialists, we get questions all the time. What's the best flute? You know, what is the best metal? What is the best type of flute? And this is such a good example of what is good for someone else is not necessarily good for you.
Absolutely. And if anyone can learn from my struggles and my experience with switching metals, you know, I know it's always good to have your teacher's input, obviously, but you really have to, whatever metal feels right for you, where you feel comfortable, where you feel you can play your best, even under pressure. You know, for some of us, when we're nervous, the first thing that goes is our air support. So what might, you know, silver might be great for someone who's got just tons of air support, like an athlete who's really in shape. And then maybe for someone else, the gold is easier for them because it just adds a little bit of flexibility and warmth. So it really is an individual thing. I would never tell someone, this is the only flute, this is the best flute, you have to play this. It's just not true. And there's so many options now with, you can get a different riser with, you know, a silver head joint or a gold head joint on a silver flute. There's so many different combinations, and you just have to take a lot of time and record yourself and really what feels right in your gut. That's the most important thing to listen to, I think, when you're picking out an instrument. So.
And shameless sales plug here, but this is why Flute Specialists offers trials. So if you want to try one of these lovely flutes, just contact us at Flute Specialists and set up your free trial today. You can try a flute just as wonderful as Dionne's.
Yeah, and I highly recommend for those trying flutes, try a couple, you know, ask to be sent a silver flute, a gold head joint for the silver flute, ask to have a gold flute, you know, so you can really try the different metals together, because that's where you're going to feel the differences. If you try a silver flute 1 month and the next month you go to gold, it's going to be harder to really distinguish what works best for you. So, yeah. Great.
I don't know about you, but I have this.
I know, me too. I'm out.
So this is our final round. It is the Flutespresso Express round. We've drank our coffee, and now we are wrapped up and ready for the Express round. I know I'm going to have the last little bit too. All right. So the Express round is this or that questions. No thoughts, no cheating. Just pick one or the other. I promise nothing controversial, I think. And you can pass if you disagree. So 2 options. You choose one. We go to the next one. No explanation needed. Are you ready?
We'll see.
Oh, you're scared now. I'm very sorry. It'll be okay.
Yes.
All right. Our first question: coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Easy. Piccolo or alto?
Oh, that's really hard. I'm going to pass on that one because I love them both.
Because you're in Chicago, maybe not everyone will get this, but Giordano's or Lou Malnati's?
Lou Malnati's, for sure.
Wagner or Verdi?
Verdi.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Travel by plane or car?
Plane.
Another Chicago specific question, but this is important. On your hot dog, ketchup or no?
Oh yeah, no, definitely ketchup.
Uh-oh.
I know. It's very un-Chicagoan.
Cubs or White Sox?
Cubs. Totally Cubs all the way.
Facebook or Instagram?
Facebook.
Vanilla or chocolate?
Vanilla.
Ebert or Nielsen?
Oh, pass on that.
This is random. Jogging or yoga?
Jogging.
I wrote this question before we had talked. So I wrote gold flute or silver flute or platinum?
Gold.
I know the answer now.
100%.
And my last question, Netflix or YouTube?
Netflix.
Fantastic.
Oh, wait, I just realized one thing we've loved watching during quarantine with my kids is The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel on Netflix. So cute.
That I haven't seen it
I
yet.
love that show.
Now I will watch it.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Dionne, for being here.
Thanks, Heather. It's been such a privilege, and I hope everyone stays safe and well, and take care of yourselves, and enjoy the music while you can.
I hope to see you in person again someday.
Me too.
And thank you for everyone for being here with us virtually and for your comments. And we will let you know who wins the giveaway for Dionne's fantastic CD.
Great. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. See you soon.
Okay, bye-bye.